my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. You know that's right.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Friday? It's the weekend. You made it. You made it. I can't seem to get my hairline. By the way, today I'm going to tell you about this piece of crap move. Today I'm going to tell you about there we go. Today I'm going to tell you about my weekly reader. How about that? Well, this damn thing doesn't like to move. All right, there we go. Like, share, subscribe, notification bell, blah, 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 all the free stuff that help us appease the almighty algorithm. The almighty algorithm. We have memberships. We have super chats if you'd like to avail yourself of those. Our goal every day is any amount of money. And but please turn on your gifted membership. Sometimes people give those out. It's nice if you can get one. All right, let's see here. The McGee family name carries more weight than Swamp Crotch. That's an easier choice. Yes, you're immediately embraced by a larger family. Incidentally, today's T-shirt is yet another from the Ball State collection, and I have had this T-shirt for at least 20 years. At least 20. And look at the collar. Just saying, John, I'm available. I can help you with your collar problems. I really can. Hope everybody's got a great weekend planned. You made it. It's Friday. Everything's groovy now. You're cool for 2 days. I got nothing. Absolutely nothing. What else was there? There was something that happened in the news or something. We already covered J.D. Souther's dead. I listened to some more. Oh, by the way, I noticed that Wild Bill is not here, or at least is not commenting in the room. And I feel kind of bad because I think Wild Bill is mad at me from yesterday's show because I wasn't very gracious when he kept suggesting speaker names for my car. I'm just a little protective of my car knowledge. Anyway, I'm sorry, Wild Bill, if that was abrupt. There. What did I see? Did I see anything about the dabble? Oh, I did see some. I did not realize until I was watching, who are these podcasts, or one of the shows that Carl Heberger does today, and it had something I had never seen before, which was Chad Zumach's show, where John was on it as a guest, and then Chad gave Shuli the link. And Shuli came on and was like calling him pal and buddy, which would make John go into a just completely mental fit. I'm not your buddy. I'm not your pal. It was wonderful. Randy Ramos, the chef, was in the house. I'd never seen that before. So John is freaking out, and you want to fight me and all that other stuff. And Shuli is just very calm, and I'd never seen it. I enjoyed it very much. Very, very, very much. Have you guys ever been around somebody? John's Cat Xavier says that's one of my favorite videos of the Dabbleverse. It is really good. It's right up there with John on with Anthony and Artie. But here's the deal. Have you guys ever known somebody? The best example that I can give, and there's probably a million examples, I could come up with a few other ones. It's the guy who was the big athlete in high school, never did anything after high school, he didn't play in college or anything else, that everybody walks around eggshells about their feelings, so that like you're watching Thanksgiving Day football game, pro football game, and they're like, well, what they need to do is run the sweep, and everybody, has to just kind of listen to their crap. Another one sometimes is an older person, even older than me, that everybody kind of, and I get that one a little bit. They're older, you're showing deference, but it's the guy that won the local Kiwanis flower contest. And so now anything involving any plant, you got to listen to his nonsense. That's what John is. Let's see. Rumpled Trenchcoat says, it's like that stuff. I'm not your buddy. I'm not your pal. I'm not your pal friend. Yes, that's even Carl said that. Carl made that exact observation, Rumpled Trenchcoat. And so I've known a lot of people like that in my life where you're like, the last example, this is a very bizarre example. I don't know how many years ago it was. It was probably 7 to 10 years ago. I was dating a girl who even mentally preparing to say this, it sounds stupid. I was dating a girl who for the last 10 years prior to me dating her, her job, her life was going to Renaissance fairs, and she would make these corsets and things that people who wanted to look legitimate at a Renaissance fair would buy. Expensive stuff, too, by the way. Very handmade quality leather. That was her job. And so she'd be gone for months at a time. She'd go to Georgia. She'd go to Illinois. She'd go to wherever there was a big Renaissance fair, and she'd set up her booth and do her thing. Well, at one point in time, I may tell another story on this one. We're getting along pretty good. I was freelancing at the time. Well, it's not exactly accurate. I was working from home for an agency that was in Houston. So I had a lot of latitude in what hours I worked and things like that. And I had a laptop, so she had to drive all the way out to Georgia. I said, why don't I make the drive with you? I'll stay for a day or two, and then I'll fly back. That's how nice of a guy I was. Plus, I wanted to get in on some of that hot, on the site of the Renaissance Fair, So the night before, everybody was going to leave, because there's more than one person in Dallas that's in this Renaissance Fair community. And it is a community. It's like carnies or something. They do this. These days, people all know each other. It's very incestual. Well, the night before everybody was supposed to leave, they were going to have this big dinner. They were going to get together. And there's a couple in Dallas that spends a lot of money with the Renaissance Fair people. I mean, a lot of money. This girl was telling me, oh my God, they buy $3,000 or $4,000 worth of stuff for me every year. And there were other people at the table that had other booths that sold other things. They also were financially somewhat dependent upon this couple. So we all go out to this restaurant. There's probably at least 4 couples there. We're waiting on the 5th, this Richie Rich couple. And we're waiting. And we're waiting. And we're waiting. And I'm like, guys, these people are 45 minutes late. Why don't we just all go ahead and order? When they get here, they can order and they have a thing. We're all starving. We're all just sitting here for 45 minutes. You know, many breadsticks and Cokes, you know. And everybody, oh, no, we could never do that. Why? Well, they'll be offended. They're very picky about that kind of thing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no. They've never been around people who will just go ahead and order dinner. They've been allowed to be treated like kings and queens for so long. There you are. So, people like that. People like that. We ended up, I mean, they got there right after that, but we were getting ready to mutiny. I almost had them talked into it. Okay, here's another thing that happened at this thing. So, I mean, this is the night before. I'm supposed to get in a car. I'd already packed. All right? I mean, my stuff was ready. It was in her vehicle. And I don't remember whether we were going to leave right after that, late that night, or I was going to sleep at her mom's house or whatever. So I'm sitting, we're at the very end of the table on one of the sides. She's on the very last seat. I'm next to her. And at the head of the head table was these friends of hers. There was a guy sitting at the head of the head table. And then his wife was sitting directly across from the girl I was dating. And we're sitting there. Finally, the food comes. We're eating and stuff. And I notice at one point, he's got his hand on her back, my girlfriend's back, and he's like stroking it like that while up and down while we're eating. And I actually looked at her and I looked at him like, what the hell's going on here? I actually had to get up and go to the bathroom. I was so having to deal with, well, we're dating, and we're sleeping together. I mean, and this guy is petting her like a cat right in front of me. That's not cool. In fact, that's extremely uncool. I guess his wife's sitting right across. I guess she didn't have a problem with it. That's her business. But so we ate. I wasn't that hungry after that. And we got in the car. And we're driving back. And she starts talking about the trip. And I go, I don't think there's going to be a trip. And she said, what? And I'm like, there's not going to be a trip. When somebody feels like they can pet you like a cat right in front of me and you're just going to let them, yeah, there's no trip. So we got back to her house and she lived, it's Dallas-Fort Worth. I mean, it's not 100 miles away, but about 25 miles away from me. She had picked me up earlier that day. So now I'm at her house and I don't have a way home. I had to call a cab or... it was awful. I think I was right there. I don't know. Who lets them just pet them right in front? Hey, man, that's disrespectful to me. If roles reversed, somebody I knew started hands-on in me right in front of a girl I was dating, I'd be like, hey, come on. A little respect, huh? Hands off the beefcake, okay? Anyway. Can't be that picky and show up 45 minutes late. Well, the thing they were picky about was their butts being kissed. They weren't picky about anything else, clearly. Hungus Mungus says, how dare you guys start the show without me? Evening, Tom and gang. Nice to have you here, Hungus. Oh, God, I guess we're into the time when we open up our thing. and stuff. We might as well do that. I'm glad you guys were also interested in my stories today. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Randy starts a new job today. Randy, tell us all about it. Love to hear about it. It's not the one over at the big pharma company, is it? Let's see here. Does everybody here remember My Weekly Reader? If you're younger, you don't. Right? If you're older, you do, because when you were in school, it was a thrill. At least in the schools that I went to, when the My Weekly Reader came in, because that meant the teacher was probably going to read that to you, or other classmates would read parts of it, and you were just going to go through the My Weekly Reader. There was pictures in it, but what My Weekly Reader was an actual like newspaper, okay, national type deal. And it was made for and directed at kids. So it was for you. It wasn't you picking up mom and dad's paper. This was for you. And so it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Congratulations, Randy. Reno Hightower says, hello, Chet. Oh, hey, Tom. Hello. Hey, Rita. Oh, hey, Reno Hightower. So that's what My Weekly Reader was. And I was thrilled by it. I was a big reader as a kid. I started reading when I was 4 years old. And from 6th grade until 12th grade, I read 100 books every summer. 100. So I like to read. My Weekly Reader began in 1928, educational classroom magazine designed for children. And so it was news-based, current events, some curriculum stuff. If you were fancy, or if your school was fancy, they had workbooks, picture books for younger grades. They had a whole bunch of stuff. Now, in 2012, Weekly Reader, which they had changed the name from My Weekly Reader to Weekly Reader. Weekly Reader ceased operations as an independent publication and merged with its new owner, Scholastic News, because they were both sort of dying on the vine independently, so they combined their efforts. It was first published by the American Education Press of Columbus, Ohio. And the very first issue appeared September 21st, 1928. Now, this is big. You're not going to think it's big. You guys might not care. But I'm telling you, this is big. The very first editor of My Weekly Reader was a woman named Martha Fulton, okay, who was hired by the owner of the press and the managing editor. The managing editor had started a paper for high school students, and it was kind of successful. It wasn't really successful, so they urged him to start a paper for grade schools. A bunch of teachers actually had urged him to do this. So while he was on a sales trip to Indiana, a friend of the managing editor knew this woman named Martha Fulton. Now, during World War I, she had been an American Red Cross worker in France, and she just loved children, okay? Now, the very first article of My Weekly Reader had articles about the boyhoods, the growing up of Herbert Hoover and Al Smith, who were presidential candidates in 1928. There were two shorter articles, Wings for Safety, about school crossing guards, and Sky Medicine, about the healthful qualities of the sun. The most popular was a letter from someone about a ride in a German glider on Cape Cod. Now, Martha Fulton wrote every single one of those articles. Her sister, Peg, was the first artist, although Peg was soon replaced by a friend. And then starting with the third issue, the director of elementary schools in York, Pennsylvania, designed the tests and puzzles for the back page. That was another big thing of My Weekly Reader. There was fun games to play on the back page. Now, as opposed to the high school publication, let me put another picture up here for you. As opposed to the high school publication, now this is a picture of the special memorial edition of My Weekly Reader. And My Weekly Reader was super important for stuff just like this. John F. Kennedy was assassinated, was all over television, newspapers, and if you were a child back then, certainly your parents, everybody you knew was talking about it. But My Weekly Reader stopped down and explained it in a way that children could understand, that elementary school kids could understand. So it was really, really kind of a cool thing. And it was an instant success. Okay. They started publishing it in, what did I say, September. So like now. All right. By December, circulation was 100,000. In 1929, a second edition was started, and the combined circulation was 376,000. Okay. By 1931, keep in mind, that's only 3 years after this little kids magazine started. By 1931, there was a combined circulation of over 1 million. That's 3 years later, 1 million. The keys to the success were very timely news articles. This thing came out every week that had a children's angle. It had an angle that was for you. And the letters from people describing new inventions and discoveries that excited the imagination of kids. Okay. The second issue of it was about Admiral Byrd's expedition to the South Pole and the story of a Boy Scout who was with him. Yeah, a Boy Scout went on that trip. So how Mother Nature prepares for weather. Seadromes was about floating airports that airplanes could use to hop across the Atlantic. And incidentally, this is 1928 we're talking about here. A month later, there was there's an article about Zeppelins. There you go. So the managing editor of My Weekly Reader basically says Martha Fulton is the reason that the magazine was popular. He said she sought my advice on minor details, but everything else, she just did it. She remained the principal writer even after her marriage to a New York City lawyer. There were other people important to the newspaper's early years. Laura Zerbe's a reading expert at Ohio State. Charles Judd, who supplied vocabulary lists. And they had various assistant superintendents and superintendents of schools that would advise the paper. So there you go. By the way, in 1934, the price was 20 cents per semester. Most people at school would pay that. You didn't have to pay it yourself, but Friday afternoon, man, you get your My Weekly Reader. In 1949, the American Education Press was sold to Wesleyan University and became American Education Publications. The editorial offices were moved to Middleton, Connecticut, but the printing was done in Columbus, Ohio. By now, the total circulation was 4,269,000. Yeah. 1965, Wesleyan sold American Education Publications to the Xerox Corporation. So there you go. They were bought many different times. Even the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company for a while owned My Weekly Reader, which is actually kind of funny. You know how that is when that happens. How about another picture? There you go, My Weekly Reader. The shuttle is ready for liftoff. Who wants to see the following week's cover? Just a big, bright explosion. Sorry, that's distasteful. That was distasteful. In 2007, it became part of the Reader's Digest Association, relocated again. Financial difficulties were part of the publication during the Reader's Digest ownership. The magazine tried to get an online presence, but they couldn't get Reader's Digest to pay the money to do so. It was acquired by Scholastic in February of 2012, and it's been combined ever since. Now, this is a super cool thing about My Weekly Reader. And you're all going, yeah, super cool to you, nerd boy. Old man. One of the very best things, and the best known things, about My Weekly Reader was the Weekly Reader Student Presidential Poll. And I actually took part in at least one of these. It was basically an educational exercise where the teachers that gave out the Weekly Reader would hold mock elections to find student preference for president. And they'd tabulate the results, and then they would send them to Weekly Reader. Now, since the year 2000, surveys have been developed with and tabulated by Zogby International, a big, reputable polling organization. The survey of students in grades K through 12 began in 1956, when... Hear it? No, I think it's already gone. When the students chose Dwight D. Eisenhower over Adlai Stevenson, they picked the winner. The poll has been conducted 14 times, most recently in 2008. And students picked the correct winner 13 out of 14 times. The exception was in 1992 when George H.W. Bush garnered more actual votes than Bill Clinton. However, third-party candidate Ross Perot's presence on the national ballot was important during the actual election. He wasn't on the Weekly Reader ballot that year. That may have been because he pulled out of the race for a short period of time. So there you go. There was a companion publication that was established in 2005. Check out this wild illustration there. They had a companion magazine that was just called Read, okay, which was a blog that features, well, Read, the literary magazine, launched a thing called Word, which was a blog that featured student writing and other literary news. So they had this great feature called The Weekly Writer. And that was where students could help authors like Stephen King and R.L. Stine finish an original story. Yeah. So they have a whole bunch of things featured around literary themes, Shakespeare, Canterbury Tales, Edgar Allan Poe, that are interactive, video, film, music, sound effects, etc. So there you go. They've expanded it, and it's now kind of an e-thing. But it's not that weekly ritual that we all knew back in the day. And that's about all I have to tell you about my weekly reader. Why don't we get to y'all's comments and get that off the screen? Get that off the screen. Rumble Trenchcoat says, I think the version of my school was the Scholastic Book Club, and they had a weekly bulletin. Scholastic had a thing that was called Scholastic News, I think. And Scholastic Book Club was something you belonged to, but it was run by the Scholastic Book Service. And it was also a thing where you would get a catalog once a quarter, maybe, or semester. Maybe it's twice a year, where you could actually order paperback books that were for kids. And I did that always. My parents were not people that would slow you down if you wanted to read something. They were big on give them a book. Reno Hightower says it was a newsletter before we knew what newsletters were. You're kind of right, yes. Hungus says, 2 a.m. here. Always have to stay up late for this show. Thank you, Sven, for doing that. Thank you, Hungus. People saying hi. The most cheerful chat room on the internet, is verified by independent sources. Also, we do have like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all of that stuff. If you can do that to appease the almighty algorithm so we can get some more people in here, that would be awesome. We have super chats and memberships. Our goal, as always, is any amount of money. We have not reached our goal today, but please turn on your gifted membership. Sometimes people gift in here, and if so, it's nice for you to be able to get a free gifted membership. Hungus Mungus says, my mom told me when JFK was killed, people stopped their cars on the street and started crying here in Germany. Well, you know, Hungus, ich bin ein Berliner. Doesn't surprise me, and people did the same thing here, if it's any consolation. 20 cents, cheap. Yeah. Oh, that's Rumpled Trenchcoat. I think that's a callback from Mad Magazine. Mad Magazine, no matter what the price was, it would say cheap afterwards. People saying hi to my friends. Yes, Toby McGrovey. Say hi away. The Wolf says, I was in dining service and others were watching MASH when the shuttle blew up. I was in dining service over in Elliott, was where I was at the time. Hey, Kim, remember Elliott Hall? Huh? That place was great. Not only could you drink there, because it was a senior hall, you could have booze delivered there. Yeah, carry out, package liquors, straight to your damn door. Randy says, do you have a second? I got all the time in the world, man. Well, I have 34 minutes and 5 seconds, actually. Hi, Toby. Sven Dunkel says, my teachers like me so much I would have to stay longer on Fridays. Man, there was one or two of my teachers I wish would have made me stay longer, mostly in junior high, a couple in high school. Trenchcoat, yep, Mad Magazine for sure. God, Mad and Cracked Magazine when I was a kid. Oh my God, they were so great. They were so awesome. But Wolf said, I had booze delivered all the time. I delivered it. That was just great. Elliott Hall. When I got to Elliott Hall, which was like a senior honors hall type thing, I was very happy. But then I found out I had a roommate. Well, I had been a hall staff for 2 years and didn't have a roommate. So I was not excited about having a roommate. Well, I got my roommate, and my roommate was a guy that wrote for the school newspaper. He was a big shot with the school newspaper at Ball State. And he basically told me right off the bat, he goes, look, I'm never here. I got a girlfriend. She lives off campus. I will never be here. Ever. I said, okay, cool. Because people sometimes come around here looking for me, but I said, what should I tell him? He goes, I just tell him whatever you want. I don't care. He goes, and just so you know, I want you to be aware, I have a little side business here on campus. And I said, really? What's that? I thought he was a tutor or something. He opened up his dresser drawer from our dorm room, and there was nothing but dime bags of marijuana rolled up in it. It was. So I think it's important you know it's here, so you don't get any tries. Whatever, man. I don't know nothing about it. He goes, by the way, take some whenever you want. Okay, thanks. Anybody remember You comic? I do not. Does anybody remember the Ran Xerox comic? There's an out of the way comic for you. Ran Xerox. He's a robot that's programming has gone incorrect, and his girlfriend is a 13-year-old heroin addict. Look it up. I'll put the name in the chat. Randy just tried to call. Randy, the phone's got to be on. Phone's got to be on for that to work, and I haven't turned it on yet. Give me a second. I'll let you know when it's open. I don't know why this is taken. Why we have to stop down and have a phone call about your new job, but we will. I don't know why you can't just type. Anyway. The Wolf says, I used to listen to Cracked on the radio. I didn't know Cracked was ever on the radio. I used to listen to National Lampoon Radio, which was freaking hilarious. I did not know that. Kicks in the Trunk. Kicks in the Trunk. What the... Oh, man, that is so nice. Rumple Trenchcoat, thank you so much. R.J. Reynolds articles. Nicotine for a healthier you. All your friends smoke. You should too. And Smoke a Reynolds, stop a commie. Oh, man, those cigarette people. If you knew the level of sophistication of tobacco marketing, it would blow your mind. It would blow your mind. I worked for a tobacco company. And, oh, Lord, they know everything. They know everything. Wolf says, maybe I meant Lampoon. Maybe. Phone lines are open, 972-994-6822. But nobody call in until Randy calls in, please. So we can get to the bottom of this employment. This so-called employment. Hey, there you go, Wolf. Ball State. Another Ball State. And 20 years old, collar, just like yesterday. And I go running in this. I like your scaled down stuff. I don't like things with a ton of design and somebody vomited patterns on your shirt. Plain white t-shirt, Ball State. That's it. All right, let's see. Hi, and welcome to the Tom Gully Show. You're on the air.
Well, this is Randy.
Hey, Randy, what's going on? Tell us all about it.
I want to know, you got a Ball State shirt on right now?
I do.
Why do you have that? Because it matches your ring.
Yeah, which matches my diploma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I just want to call in and said, yeah, I got a job at a golf course today. Brought in 5 people with my executive chef, and everybody else just kind of, just like that, look, is like, oh, things are changing here.
Oh, everybody at the golf course?
Right, in the kitchen.
Yeah, the current staff was like, uh-oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Yeah. My executive chef went in there. He started 3 days ago, and today we just walked in. I can't remember that show, but it's kind of like a mobster kind of thing where everybody just walks in and everybody's just like separates, and they're like, oh, things are different today.
Yeah. So you are Just you a
I'm
chef,
a chef.
sous
and then
chef?
there's
Okay, chef.
and-
There's an executive chef. You're a chef, and
Right.
you're working at a golf course. I imagine they have a somewhat, probably not a huge menu, but varied, and that's cool.
you know. Oh, they have the hoopty loopties, which we call them, and nothing saying about your car, but there's BMWs and Jaguars and everything else like that, and we get this little place to park. It's like, oh, okay, we're going to feed these people today.
Gotcha. They probably sell a lot of alcohol there.
See, that's one thing that as many restaurants and everything that I deal with and I went into, I don't deal with that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't. When I got into it when I was really young, I saw how that part of the house works, and it's like, no, I don't want to deal with that.
I'm just saying a golf club, a golf course traditionally sells a lot of booze.
Yes,
Yeah.
the fancy kind. I don't even know what they. One time, way back, is why do you have this copper little cup and everything? Oh, it's a maybe I don't know. It's
Demi-tasse?
old fashioned.
Oh, an old-fashioned mixer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know even what that is. I don't care.
Well,
But I do need some white wine right now so I can make some shrimp. Are you having a good one?
Right. Well, congratulations on your new job, man. That's great news.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, yeah.
I talked to Summer Rose the other day, and she pops in every now and then and listens to you.
Oh, yeah? Well, she's probably should have better things to do. What's she up to these days?
Well, she is. Well, you're sitting down. She's 19 now.
I know.
19 now, and she's getting ready to go off to college. She's going to live in Nashville with her brother, and she wants to be a nurse. And he was in the service, and he lives off of base in Tennessee, and she's going to go there. So yeah.
Find a nursing school down there and go to nursing school.
Yes.
Excellent.
They have one on base.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Outstanding. Well, that's great news, man. Sounds like everything's great.
Not a problem. Well, there is a problem.
Uh-oh.
I work at a golf course now.
Uh-oh.
And
Yeah.
I used to play golf. But now I have a fake hip. And I can't go out there and have fun.
Well, that's okay. It's just golf. Just
Well, I didn't want to.
drive the cart
you
around
up.
for people like I do.
Right.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you checking in, and thanks for updating us on. And send me a Facebook message on which golf course it is.
Okay, I certainly will, sir.
I'm sure I will know of it
All right.
in Indianapolis.
Tweet, tweet.
All right, man.
Chirp, chirp.
Chirp, chirp. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. That was the great Randy Ramos. He is an actual chef, and he is, once again, his services have been called upon by yet another high-end purveyor of victuals. Yes. Toby says minimalist. Well, a little Scandinavian design. Hungus Mungus says Hard Boiled by Frank Miller was a sick comic too. Yes, it was. The Wolf says my final term paper in GBA 498 was on the tobacco industry. I found out so much the professor wouldn't give me the paper back. Perfect score. Congrats on the new job, Randy. There you go. The 19th hole. That's what it's always called. Rumple Trent Coat, the 19th hole. That's like there used to be. There's not. Well, I mean, I imagine you can still find some, but there used to be. I can remember when I was younger and when I was first in college, I went to a place because there's a billion of them at one point in time called the Office Lounge. The Office Lounge. And that was like meant to be a place that you went to after work. It was like an after work bar. Toby McGrovey says, as long as you're not wearing one of those Flaming Skulls UFC shirts, I'll walk around with you. Yeah, I don't want one of those. Way to go, Randy. Kids grow up way too fast. I think they grow up at the rate they're supposed to grow up. However, children are overrated. Look for that to show up on overrated, underrated sometimes. Because children are way overrated. Way overrated. Man, the way some people, not all people, but the way some people derail their personal lives over the whims of a child is beyond me. Hey, you guys ready? We gonna go to the thing? I don't know. We might not be able to go now. Why not? Well, the babysitter got here, and it's the babysitter Timmy doesn't like, and he's just not happy. We've got an event to go to. We're only going to be gone for 4 hours. I think your child can learn to deal with unhappiness for 4 hours. I guarantee you 15 minutes after we're gone, if the correct DVD is in the player, everything's going to be fine. I just don't know. He's just so unhappy. Yeah. It's that thing. It's the same thing. It comes down to the same thing as when you have a newborn child. At a certain point, the child will have to be in a room by itself, sleeping in a crib or other bed for them, playpen, whatever it is. And when you leave the child, especially at first, the child, which is used to being held and is going to cry because it's alone in a dark place, etc., etc. Some parents, I don't want my child to suffer. I don't want them to cry. I don't want them to be scared. I don't want them to be terrified. They get the kid and the kid sleeps with them. Other parents say, you know what? If we put up with just a couple nights of this crying, I'm not going to have to listen to crying ever again. I'm in the second camp. Yeah. Let it cry and learn they don't run thing. That too. I remember when my nephew was probably 4 years old, something like that. And I was staying all night at my brother's house. I was traveling. I was going to spend the night and then keep traveling. And it's about that bedtime for a 4-year-old. And, of course, the kid didn't want to go to bed at all. And who's calling while I'm telling the story? Hi, and welcome to the Tom Gully Show. You're on the air.
Hi, Tom Rumble Trenchcoat here. I just had to call to reminisce with a fellow bibliophile to talk about the Scholastic Book Club.
Yes.
Man, was there anything better than being a kid, getting that catalog, and just kind of flipping through it and seeing all the books there were to choose from? And my parents also encouraged reading, but, we also didn't have a lot of money. So it's like, well, you could pick any 3 books. And so that's when the real choices, the weight of, there's always that book that you want that do you want it more than this book or that book? Yeah. And you just kind of went through all of them bit by bit. And, then when they finally arrived, weeks and weeks later at the school, because everything was 6 to 8 weeks to arrive. Then you go there and you're like, oh man, and you get to see these brand new books, and then they set it all up like a fair. So it would just either a spot in the cafeteria, usually the library, and they had all kinds of pencil sharpeners. I don't know, they had all stuff that made a horrific nerd like me so happy just to see everything book and book related. And boy, then you get to get those books home, and then you get the next catalog. And it just was just a really neat thing to look forward to as a kid. I didn't have a lot going on, but I had books, so that was good.
Well, I lived out on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. There was literally nothing to do. The local library was in an old house, and it had some good books in it, but we weren't going by the library every day. Now, my mom was a huge reader, so we went there enough during the summer, but I can remember getting that catalog, and as you say, oh, that's a book for girls. Oh, that's a book that's too technical for me. I don't like sciencey things like that. Oh, that book's about dinosaurs. I don't care about that. Oh, here's a sports book. Oh, here's a book. Yep. Here's a true story of a kid that got lost in the wilderness for 2 weeks. I want that one, or whatever it is. And having to make that cut because, like yourself, our family we didn't have any money. But a book from the Scholastic Book Club was 85 cents, or was, they were so inexpensive. I mean, still, you had to stay within a budget. We had 6 kids. So yeah, it was each of you can pick 3, books. And then, like you just said, it seemed like it was 27 years for those books to arrive.
It was an eternity.
And I don't know about yours, but I think I seem to remember there was a big fair where you went and got all your books. But I also remember much of the time your book was distributed by the teacher and in your classroom. So you would come back from recess one day, and up on a front desk or a table would be all of these books that had a rubber band around them, like 3 books rubber banded with the actual receipt or whatever. And those would always all be stacked up in the front. And you'd be like, oh, they're going to give the books out today. Oh my God, that's so awesome. And then you would oh, my parents, we're going to go on a long car trip. Awesome. I have this book.
Yeah, perfect. You got the book.
Perfect. Yeah. I've got the whole 4 hours taken care of. Yeah, the Scholastic Book Service and the book club was just, man, it was so great. It was so, I remember my mom would always say, go circle which ones you want,
Yeah, that was it.
Circle them.
You'd circle them, but boy, now yours is done a little differently. I kind of like that idea. That would have been pretty cool to see them. Ours was more like you told they had it set up like with a little register, and behind the register they had everybody's books that were set. And I think it was probably to encourage you to also not only get the books that you ordered, but maybe buy a couple of other things on the spot too, like some impulse buys, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, we also had a thing where my mother was a volunteer for, I want to say it was scouting or something, but they had a little store, very small little retail store, and it was, I don't know what the deal was, to be honest with you, but it was a place where they sold paperback books for like a dime. And this was in the early 80s, early to mid 80s. These books were just dirt cheap. Now, the one thing was the covers were all ripped off. So
sure. So those are probably returns from the publishers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They were all returns, and so they needed to get some money from them or whatever. But that place, my mom would bring home, grocery bags full of books for us. If she saw something you were remotely interested in, she'd grab it and throw it in the bag.
I mean, for a dime a piece, you can't go wrong. How bad could a book be that it's not worth a dime?
Exactly. Just for kindling or whatever else. But I so remember that because, man, we're old. So there wasn't that much stuff to do. There were no video games. If you didn't have a ton of other kids around you, there was no sports to play.
Right.
You know, on down the line, you could watch TV, but there were only 3 channels. Most of the shows were for adults. You know, on down the line. So reading was my thing. I just read and read. And by the way, a lot of adults were also the decline of reading in this country is just shocking to me.
It is because you know, we even went into a little bit on our podcast, is that, you know, our mom would just be reading all the time, and it would always be wonderful mysteries in our case. So that was the stuff I liked as a kid, was like the Encyclopedia Brown type stories, you know, all of those childhood solving mysteries. That was my thing. But yes, you know, people just don't really talk about reading, and you certainly don't see people sitting around reading. So that's been a real loss, I think.
Well, and can you buy a magazine anymore? I mean, even if you wanted a little light reading, you'd get a magazine, and now go online for your magazine. I can remember certain books. Like, I remember when I was very, 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 very small, every single person my mom knew, every woman had Valley of the Dolls. They all had that book. I can still see the cover, but the big book that I remember, the first book that I remember being super mass popular, I'm not talking an old book like, you know, Red Badge of Courage. I'm talking about popular right now book, was the summer Jaws came out.
Benchley. Peter Benchley.
Peter Benchley, Robert Benchley's kid, I guess. But
Robert Benchley. Okay.
No, Peter Benchley wrote Jaws. Peter Benchley is seen as somewhat of a populist hack author. Robert Benchley's like a famous, really good author. Peter Benchley's his son.
Gotcha.
Peter Benchley actually in the movie Jaws has a cameo as a TV news reporter on the scene. There's a scene where a guy's walking on the beach with a microphone doing a thing, and that's actually Peter Benchley. Anyway, so
that's cool.
That paperback book was everywhere. I mean, every single place you went, it was there. It was just, you were just inundated by it. You don't see that anymore. And as a matter of fact, if you go to Barnes and Noble, which is Barnes and Noble is like, you know, Valhalla for a reader. But but I'd say 25% of the books in there are selling at full price, and the rest of them were out for 2 or 3 months and are now discounted down to 30%.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you make money selling books?
Well, they're
these
not.
days?
That's it.
Yeah, you don't. I was told that if you could sell 30,000 copies of a book, there's a publisher out there that'll talk to you. You know, and back in the day, 30,000 was like, why even print it? You know? No, you had to really sell a ton just to even make back the advance. And back then they would give advances. I don't even know if I'm sure they must give out much smaller advances. I know a lot of it has to do you have a huge online presence, so that you can count on a certain percentage of your followers buying it, and that makes you more attractive to publishers. You know, there's a lot that goes into it now. Yeah, and well, the advances are only given out to, you know, Michelle Obama and people like that are going to get a guaranteed sale. Now, if you're a fiction author or even a nonfiction author with a proven track record of success, then you can probably get an advance. It won't be what it used to be. But think about just back in the day, the cost of printing, you know, because they're going to do a hardcover first, and that's good paper and binding and a printed cover and an overleaf and book guard and everything else. You know, until they go to trade or paperback, even those are, you know, they're not cheap. If you got to print out 100,000 of those. Better have $500,000 on hand, you know. Well, and then you better make that back, because otherwise the publishers are not going to go back for a second book for you if you don't. No. So Anyway, well, I'm glad somebody else got a little nostalgia out of this. It's a Friday show,
I
so
did.
I
did. I enjoyed a good. That brought back some nice Scholastic Book Fair memories. So I appreciate.
I can distinctly remember one of the books that I got because I got the book, I read the book, and we had a teacher that would read, a fourth grade teacher that would read to us once a week. And I said, this is a book I think everybody would like. And she read it. And then she came to me a couple days later and said, I think you're right. We're going to read that book for the class. And,
nice. You remember the book, what it was?
No, I remember, I could find out. I could look it up online. But it was about a guy that went camping with his dad. They somehow got separated. And he had to survive on his own for like a couple of weeks.
That sounds like it's every kid's fantasy, to read about survival in the forest or wherever it took place.
But this was real stuff. It was real.
Yeah.
He fashioned a fishing pole out of a piece of string and a sharpened paper clip or something. I mean, it was really in depth. It was really in depth. So anyway,
that sounds great.
When's the next episode of Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast coming out?
I'm editing it as we speak. Well, not quite as we speak, but I'm editing it today. So I'm hoping to get it out before Monday. Because we just released the Stitch in Crime.
Yep.
So the next one is going to be the chess champion one, most dangerous match.
Who's the celebrity?
Lawrence Harvey.
Oh, Lawrence. Oh, man. He's got to be up there.
Yeah, he, well, unfortunately, he passed away pretty much just after making that episode.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it because we try and keep it light on the show, but he was, while he was filming that, he was actively dying of gastric cancer. He had a life of smoking, heavy drinking, and partying, and he just never went to a doctor, and so sadly he did not make it too far. But still a good episode, and so hope to have it released pretty soon. So well, thank you. I'm gonna let you go to kind of wrap things up here, and but I do appreciate the trip down Scholastic memory lane.
Hey, thank you for all your support, and
sure,
anything we can do for you, let us know.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, man. Have a good weekend. That's the legendary Rumpled Trenchcoat Columbo podcast, and I know not everybody's a freak for old TV shows and stuff, but I think most people, even today, have an affinity for Columbo. If you haven't seen Columbo, definitely watch it, but I got to tell you, that podcast, do me a favor. Watch one episode. I think he may have told me Tubi has the episodes for free with commercials. Watch one episode and then go listen to the Rumpled Trenchcoat podcast for that episode. If you don't like it, fine, but you're gonna love it. Anyway, let's get through all these comments, and we'll get you guys on your weekend. Kids grow up way too fast. Way to go, Randy. Yes, kids grow up too fast. They're overrated. Let it cry and learn. Oh, I've already done that one. Hungus Mungus says, German kids don't cry. Really? Bet you they did in 1986. Bet you they did in 1966. Bet you they did in 1982. Star Mountain says, hey, Rumpled Trenchcoat, cool to hear you. Very much so. The Wolf says, yes, there was one thing better, going to the library for the entire day. Oh, that was always great. Like if they were going to re-wax the floor in your classroom, you get to go to the library. I read a book per week when I was a kid. Yeah, that's not as good as 100 a summer. Just saying. I'm kidding. Star Mountain says a lot of those books became assigned readings when I hit junior high and high school. My parents had so many books, and I read all of them starting in first grade. We had a collection of encyclopedias that was not Encyclopedia Britannica. It was another company. And like the back eighth of the book was synopsises of famous works of literature. So I just went and read all those instead of reading the books. And my favorite book as a kid was Lord of the Flies. I still haven't read that. Love that one, says Star Mountain. Star Mountain says, I read that in second grade, came back around in ninth grade as a reading assignment. Has anyone read Hyperion by Dan Simmons? A lot of people have recommended that book to me. This is my favorite book ever. No, but we'll check out later. It's an oldie but a goodie. Me too. I was an introvert and just read a lot. Never Ending Story in Momo by Michael Ende. Okay. Star Mountain says, hell, I read Alien before seeing the movie. There's a lot of books. I read the book before seeing the movie. Alan Dean Foster, I think. I read Jaws before the movie, says Star Mountain. Yes, it was. It was everywhere. It was like the summer book. You saw it at the beach. You saw it at the parking lot. It's everywhere. Wolf says, I've read it, Star. I prefer P.N. Elrod, Frank Frazetta, David Eddings, Terry Brooks, Stephen R. Donaldson, Charles Ingrid, etc. Hey, for me, it's all about Raymond Chandler, Charles Bukowski. Oh, and Norman Spinrad. Piers Anthony, says the Wolf. These are all a bunch of good ones. Arthur C. Clarke, yes. Hatchet. Hatchet was about a plane crash. My bad. Everyone say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. Good night, John Boy. I absolutely love listening to audiobooks and painting minis. I'm a nerd. Hi, Star Mountain. Has anyone read it? What are you talking about? Read it? You mean It, the book? Wasn't Frank Frazetta an artist? Maybe he was an artist and an author. I don't know. Those audiobooks, I remember they used to be called books on tape. And I remember every time I had a long car trip, I was driving to Springfield, Missouri and back frequently. And that's an 8-hour drive. And I can recall going to Barnes & Noble or Walden Books or some bookstore when they started having books on tape and purchasing those for my trip, specifically for my trip. It made it so much faster. And then I got the old-time radio shows and started making those for my trip. So if you're ever on a long car trip, those books on tape and old-time radio shows will make it go so much faster. Wasn't Frank Frazetta an artist? Boy, he was a good artist. I like to meet some of those models he was using. I'll tell you that much right now. Man, I hope you all have exciting, fun things planned for the weekend. We actually did meet our goal today, thanks to Rumpled Trenchcard. Our stated goal is any amount of money. Our financial goal is $50 a show. We're not likely to reach that anytime soon, the rate we're going. But thank you to Rumpled Trenchcoat. It's very much appreciated. Well, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall, and it's looking like it's time for me to get up on out of here like the Reverend Al Green. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. SG Fanboy says, my weekend will suck working all weekend. You know what, SG Fanboy? I have an ass load of things to do this weekend. I might as well be working. I might as well be. I mean an ass load. And that's standard ass. That's not metric ass load. That's so there you are, kids, ladies and gents, madame ou monsieur. I'm going to miss you guys this weekend. Man, I appreciate you guys so much for showing up to this mess every time we do it. And just thanks for all the support. Couldn't do it without you. Trying to grow the show. It's got to get bigger, or 6 months from now, if we're still doing it for 10 people, there'll be no more show. Star Mountain says, I also love books written by rock stars. Iron Man, My Journey Through Heaven and Hell with Black Sabbath by Tony and Iommi got me through a tour. Great read. You know, Star Mountain, it's interesting. The company that published that book, I used to have a really close relationship and interviewed tons of their authors and was going to interview Tony, but he came down with a little touch of cancer. Wasn't doing interviews for the book. Okay, good night, all. All right, kids. With all that being said, till next time. We'll see you next time.
I don't want to talk about that, 'cause I got the love of a beautiful woman. There's nothing's gonna take her place. She make me feel just like a natural born winner when I'm not even in the race. That's why they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Never had a whole lot of money. I was never good at games and chance. When I'm playing cards with my buddies, when the money flies right out of my